Retro Hangover is supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McCarns, Tony G, Stud Still Smash the Milkman, Lucas from Game Over Hell, Randall Quiggle, Raging Demon from Command List, Poppy the Masked Keaton, JC, Ozzy Garcia, Megan Caruso, Retro Overdrive, Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog, Soha, Storm Beagle, and Captain Ed from Retrotopia, The Emperor, Matt aka Stormageddon from Fun and Games and Reignites, Van Vernal and B. Ross from Super Garbage Day, Jared Breland, Ryan, Keith Gasper from the Main Quest Podcast, The Retro Vixen, Rick Firestone from Pixel Project Radio, Eric Guess from Unlockables, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands, Ash Event, Alan Bigham from Saxbit, Mike the Ref from Backbreaker Gaming, Alt, Low5 Alex from Low5 Gaming, Oh Me, Gary Heather, Makeshift Monet, Riskel, Sega Boy 7, and Adam R. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated.
Open your ears and crack some beers. You are listening to the most recent episode of Retro Hangover.
Retro and classic gamers, welcome to the podcast where we bravely bust beats because been betting better bedtime benefits. This is Retro Hangover. I am your co-host, Chris Copleen, with special guest Lucas from Game Over Hell, and as always, your host, Shane. All you can eat Dragon Salter!
An eggplant buffet, one might say.
Yes, full of tasty treats.
That's right.
Meats, treats,
sweets.
All well, tweets. We're tweeting?
No, sweets.
I don't.
Meats, treats, and sweets.
I thought you said that we're going to engage in Twitter.
No,
while we have our meal. I think that's quite rude.
We don't do that here.
Well, I do because I have to.
Oh. Exactly.
And now I'm glad I was able to finally experience what it is like to hear the enunciation from this side of the podcast.
Yeah,
it's like you don't really hear anything.
No. And I love how every new guest when they come on mentions that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I finally got to experience this. I'm like, oh, I love how it's become such a novelty. I really do love that.
It's the rite of passage.
It's an experience, everyone.
Everyone needs to hear Chris go to space at least once.
That's our advertisement to be on the podcast, be part of the novelty, see what it's like behind the scenes, see what it's like to see the Chris behind the curtain as he turns purple while doing the intro, like an eggplant. That's our pitch. Come on board. Well, anyway, Lucas, thank you for coming on today. A longtime member of the community. So happy to have you on here. You've also been on Growing Up Gaming Brazil with us before. And you're going to be, part of us on an upcoming project, one of our long-going projects. You're slated to be a panelist for the next King of Games. Won't reveal the year yet, but thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I wasn't expecting to be part of the actual main show anytime soon. And I wasn't sure we were going to reveal King of Games already. I thought it was supposed to be more good to remain secret for longer. But okay, yeah, that's right. I'm going to be part of it.
Well, it's still in pre-production. Nothing started yet, so I could be a liar. It could all collapse under its own weight.
Oh, that's right.
And never come out.
Maybe there will be a big drama and everything will just be canceled.
I mean, it's happened to bigger and more notable podcasts. So
yeah, that's true. Well, I don't actually see that happening, but yeah.
I don't either. All right. But let's get into the show proper today, where we like to talk about what games we have been playing lately. As is tradition, as we are wont to do, we start out with our guest. They get to talk about what games they have been playing lately before getting to myself and Shane. So, Lucas, what games have you been playing lately?
Oh, gee. I mean, if you asked that like a few months ago, I think I would have probably be listing a bunch of games. But lately, I actually had to slow down, and that's mostly because just how I operate in regards to, I have my YouTube channel, and I try to focus on one game at a time. And if I'm not done covering a game, I usually feel a lot of guilt if I try to start another, if that game is also going to be content for the channel. So as a result of that, because I'm still in the process of finishing one of the more the longer format videos, I've been kind of stuck, not playing anything super significant. I've been dabbling here and there on Game Gear games and some random like Sega stuff, like older stuff, because I'm from Brazil. So I think I would have been more into Sega growing up, but most of my time growing up with games was mostly PlayStation, Nintendo. I know about Master System, but I pretty much started on the Super Nintendo. So I'm trying to catch up and play some random, well, not fully random, actually following the release order for Game Gear after finishing the Master System list. Sometimes I go back to Final Fantasy 14, as much as I tend to criticize that game, because I joined a group recently where it's a small group of players where we basically try to clear content in the game in batch order. I think they call it patch lock, which is in Final Fantasy 14, progress in the patches, they are locked behind main scenario progression. So what we do is complete everything that you can in a patch before progressing with the story and then repeating the process. We are pretty far behind still. It's slow. It's a very, very slow way of playing the game. Yeah, other than that, I'm looking forward to playing stuff after I'm done with the current project. But Clair Obscur is next in line. I'm really excited to play that one. Everyone keeps singing praises to it. I have high expectations, but I don't think it's going to be one. It doesn't feel like it's going to be one of those cases where I feel like a game might have been getting more praise than it deserves. Everything seems to point out that I'm probably going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I think that's about it. I'm also playing Vampire Survivors, but that's kind of an endless thing. It doesn't count in my book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Vampire Survivors for a lot of people is going to be eternal. I think Shane still secretly plays it and hasn't said anything about it in a while. Speaking of, Shane, what have you been playing lately?
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but actually no, I haven't. I'm actually really behind on all the content releases. I saw they had a Balatro collab, apparently. I don't know. I don't even know what's happening in that game anymore. That's everything, evidently. But man, I seriously got nothing. Like, usually I can try to fish for an answer of just like, I sure did play this thing on my phone while on the toilet. But I mean, I really don't have anything to talk about. Like, the holidays, you would think would give you like time to just chill and play games and do whatever. But no, adult life does not work that way. And so instead we been doing a lot of traveling, visiting family, cooking meals and whatnot. So I really haven't played anything except for the game we're talking about today. That's it. That's all I got for you.
Huzzah.
Yeah.
Great to hear. We're going to be, me and you, I think, are going to be relatively boring. I'm kind of running into the same problem. I thought I would have more time, and this weekend I did. But I didn't play a game for myself. I don't think I've played a game for myself all year unless I've been streaming, which is going to make this a very unique year. Because usually I get 1 or 2 in where I just get to, just kind of disconnect. And I thought I was going to do that, but then Silent Hill 4 took a lot longer than I thought it would. And so I'm back on just trying to get ahead with gaming content for the show. And of course, the game I'm playing currently is for an upcoming episode. And boy, is it bloated. It's much longer than it needs to be. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But I've been primarily playing a game for the upcoming episode. But if you've been watching for an upcoming episode, not the next one, the one after that, and not the flights. So
I already have things to say about that, which I cannot say, of course, but I'm sure the guests will voice exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but I got to finish Rockman 4, which was the first time I've ever beaten Mega Man 4. I had not beaten it prior to that, just because it just didn't. I guess that's all I could say there. And I also played and beat a game called The Quiet Man.
Oh my god, that's a masterpiece.
Best game ever, people.
Piece of something,
if you don't
that's for
play
sure.
The Quiet Man. Yeah, I mean, if you don't play The Quiet Man, if you haven't played it, I need you to buy it, and right before you do, call your mother and have a really good conversation with her, and then play The Quiet Man. I think it will all make sense. You just got to trust me on this. You got to trust me on this. Okay? Okay.
That game is an experience, that's for sure.
It certainly is. If you like The Bouncer, you might like The Quiet Man. I don't know how those two are connected. They might have something in common. A few things. Anyway, we are going to be talking about a Square game, ending with the Square game there, and Brave Fencer Musashi. Isn't that right, Shane?
That is absolutely correct, and I cannot possibly think of a better person to give us the brief history of Brave Fencer Musashi than our own resident weeb. So, Chris, would you like to do the honors?
Yes. What is up, everyone? Ready to talk about the new, highly anticipated Final Fantasy VIII? All right. Maybe that's a little harsh on the amazing fans of Brave Fencer Musashi. But let's be honest, this game is famously, or infamously, known for being packaged with the demo of the eagerly awaited Final Fantasy VIII. We're not here to talk Final Fantasy today, though. We're here for our patron-selected deep dive into Brave Fencer Musashi. Despite its association with the demo, Musashi has its own fascinating development history. Developed and published by Squaresoft, this creation unsurprisingly overlapped quite a bit with Final Fantasy. It was produced by the legend himself, Hironobu Sakaguchi, and the characters were designed by Final Fantasy headliner Tetsuya Nomura. In some ways, you could call this a proto-Kingdom Hearts. Interestingly, Sakaguchi reportedly didn't anticipate the game's eventual success until it was midway through development. Brave Fencer Musashi was first released in Japan on July 16, 1998, followed by the North American release, which included that famous Final Fantasy VIII demo on November 12th. Critical reception was very warm, receiving an 81 aggregate score on Metacritic. Critics often compared it favorably to its contemporary, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. In terms of sales, it performed quite well for a new IP, whose initial momentum was driven mostly by a pack-in, selling approximately 1.15 million units globally. The game did receive a semi-sequel in 2005 for the PlayStation 2 titled Musashi: Samurai Legend. Since then, however, the franchise has unfortunately remained dormant. And that is your brief history of Brave Fencer Musashi.
I get the feeling that there wasn't a lot of information available about this game.
Yes and no. It's pretty much the information I found was that the people of Square were kind of like, we're going to make a game. Sakaguchi's like, let's make a game. I want to make a game. I'm not really doing anything right now. I mean, he was. So, I mean, it is interesting that there's any real information on there, just because it seems like there's a lot of overlap with the Final Fantasy people, and they were hard at work making Final Fantasy VIII. So the fact that you did have Nomura and Sakaguchi on this project is actually fairly impressive, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking when's going to be the best time to point a few things out regarding the making of the game that I ended up researching, because I had to research stuff for my video, and I also took some extra notes just in case. Would now be the best time to mention those?
Yeah.
There's just one thing I think people tend to, when I look up online, people tend to confuse a few things regarding the character designs, that Nomura designed the main characters, and you can actually find, we can find the art, the official artwork he made for some of the characters, like the princess, Musashi, Kojiro, and a few others. In outside material, I'm not sure if the manual those are included, because, like I said, I didn't check the manual ever. But if you look at the title screen, the silhouette that you see, that's from Nomura's design for Musashi. But all the art in game, not the models, I mean, but just every 2D art present in the game is by a different artist. I can't remember their name, but I think they worked on what's the other PlayStation game? Apescape. I don't know if it's the series or any specific Apescape.
Okay.
But yeah, Nomura's involvement it seemed to be a little bit more. He wasn't so deep into the project. He was mostly helping to establish some of the characters. And it's interesting that if you look up the history for Final Fantasy VII, the source of inspiration for Cloud and Sephiroth were the legendary, the actual Miyamoto Musashi and the rival Sasaki Kojiro, which ends up being the inspiration for this game as well.
Interesting.
I kind of wonder if that's something that also has something to do with Nomura, since he was somewhat involved in both projects. And there is just one thing I'd say, that in terms of anything done with this project since the original release, in Japan, the game did come out on the PSN for the PlayStation 3, but only in Japan. There are a lot of theories going around about why we never got the English re-release. There's usually something to do with the voice acting, since a lot of the voice actors are supposed to be really prolific since. But I don't really know the details about how voice acting licensing works, if there's how complicated it is, if there's such a thing as having to pay royalties or not. But whatever the case, Japan got it, we never did. All we ever saw since was like an anniversary video on YouTube for the series. I think it was a few years ago.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I mean, I could see that with the voice acting being one of the leading problems. That seems to be a big problem with a lot of projects of this era, where you did have licensing issues, because licensing is just done differently here than it is in Japan, of course. And who owns the rights? Does the voice actor own the rights? Does the voice acting's talent agency own the rights? Does Square own the rights? Like, there's a lot of those questions usually, and if they can't find who owns those rights, they can't release the game, because they don't know who would get royalties, if anyone's to get royalties. But I did like the fact that you said Nomura was more limited in his involvement with this game, which kind of makes sense. Again, I mean, everyone's kind of working over there on Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, he was probably closely involved in that, because you see a lot more of his influence in the character designs in 8, and he has a history with being a monster designer, and you can see that throughout the entirety of the Final Fantasy games. I think since 4, and 4
or 5, definitely 5.
Actually, I'm not too sure if it was 5 or 4, but yeah, one of those. He joined as a graphic designer, and he specialized in monsters, and the you can see a lot of well, I don't want to get too much into that, because that's something I'm keeping for a future project. But his influence on Final Fantasy VIII onwards is basically influenced the entire series since. Like it was like a snowball effect. And just one thing that I want to mention, I actually did not know at all about the Final Fantasy VIII demo back then. Because we got those games, well, in Brazil, the PlayStation was pretty popular because it was easy to pirate. And most people would buy pirated copies, which were much cheaper, but they did not come with obviously didn't come with official packaging. So no manuals, and sometimes not even the official covers. There was no indication that there was supposed to be a demo for Final Fantasy VIII for this. So I didn't know about this until I was a teenager. So it's always interesting to me to see so many people make fun of the fact that most people only know about this game because they went to play the demo for Final Fantasy VIII.
I think it's a very Amerocentric point of view. I think that was the driving factor for the game's success. However much it had here was definitely for that demo. I mean, you could say the same. It's typical. You see that with quite a few games. Like I think Zone of the Enders is one that you got. Metal Gear Solid 2 and Tobal number 1, which is more obscure than Musashi, I would say, but that came with the Final Fantasy VII demo. But that's why that game is most of the people know of that game nowadays. But yeah, I mean, I can understand that because it seems that it had a relatively limited release worldwide. It doesn't appear to have released in Europe. Could be wrong.
Another one of those.
I didn't find one. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. Europe didn't really get a lot. And then when they did get it, we did not. Bastards. But anyway, let's keep this show rolling here. Unless you have any other tidbits.
No, nothing too important. I actually wrote like a shit ton of notes, but most of them are not really important.
Okay. So let's get into the story. But before I do, I just do want to mention you heard that correctly. This was a game that was selected by our patrons. It was actually nominated by Lucas. He put the game up for a vote. Our patrons selected Brave Fencer Musashi to talk about, and that's why we are talking about this. So if you want to vote on games that can appear on the show, just join the Patreon at the $1 tier or above. So as little as $1, you can vote on future episode topics, including The Flight. And if you really want to get crazy and you want to nominate games, that's at our 32-bit and HD tiers, so just $10 and $15 tiers. So if you join those, you get to nominate games. So thank you, Lucas, for being a patron. Thank you for being a member of the community as long as you have, more so especially. But yeah, you can do that if you want to help put games on the show and influence what we talk about. But let's get into the story. As I have been doing, I'm not going to say want again. I've already said it once. I've been going into the manuals and reading the stories there before we talk about what we think about the plot. So I will do that now. I have a copy of the manual in front of me. And this is the story hence. The Legend of Musashi. It's pretty long. So, get comfy. Over 150 years ago, a giant monster suddenly appeared in the Thirst Quencher Empire, neighboring country to the All-You-Can-Eat Kingdom. This monster was known as the Wizard of Darkness and was a huge creature made almost entirely of a powerful crystal known as Binchotite. I think it's Binchotite. After easily destroying the Thirst Quencher Empire, the monster made way for All-You-Can-Eat, seeking the bountiful supply of Binchotite, believed to be buried there. The monster destroyed everything along the way. It is believed that many creatures were born of this destruction, as the Wizard of Darkness had a strange effect on everything that crossed its path. Upon hearing of the Wizard of Darkness's approach, King All-You-Can-Eat ordered the Hero Summon spell to be cast. The Hero Summon spell is a special magical power that is handed down generation to generation amongst only the princesses of All-You-Can-Eat. A closely guarded state secret, this power is only used as a last resort when the kingdom is faced with great danger. It grants its user the ability to summon a hero through incantations made over a specially prepared crystal of Binchotite. The summoned hero called upon to defeat the Wizard of Darkness was a two-sworded fencer named Musashi. Musashi accepted the princess's task and set out on a journey to defeat the Wizard of Darkness.
Musashi and the Wizard of Darkness battled fiercely for a long time. Even for a hero like Musashi, the Wizard of Darkness proved a formidable foe. Finally, with the help of Lumina, the Sword of Luminescence, Musashi was able to seal the monster within a magical ward. It is said that Musashi then divided the power of the monster to 5 elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and sky, and then sealed them within 5 crests. These crests became known as the 5 Scrolls, and in the years to follow, passed into myth with the legend of the brave fencer, Musashi. None of that is explained in the game, by the way.
Nope.
So, I mean, kind of, but not really.
Maybe, well, it kind of is. Not exactly with those words of the manual, but still.
I would love to see the Japanese manual input here, because I feel like a lot of this was kind of made up for the English translation. But before I get to my thoughts, because I have been talking entirely too much, Shane, you've been relatively quiet. I'm going to start with you. What did you think of this game's story and writing?
Well, maybe that was on purpose.
Yeah, probably.
You know, now you're just interrupting.
I am.
I mean, it's fine. Story's fine. Like it's pretty standard, kind of like tropey fantasy, you know, random names of things. Bincho tight is a fun word to say. I'll put that out there. Far and away, my favorite part of this really has nothing to do with the plot itself. It's really more about the writing. And I think, well, okay, I don't know for sure. Somebody could probably fact check me on this, but I feel like, given the nature of translations back in the day, that what we experienced with the English version of this game might not necessarily be one-to-one with what the original Japanese dialogue was supposed to be. I mean, it might be close, I don't know, but there seems to be a lot of Americanisms in there, like a lot of Valley Girl likes and stuff like that.
Working designs isms.
Yeah, that's that's a good way to put it. Yeah. And but I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoy it. Like it adds to the overall sort of like charm of the game, I think. And that's what really draws me to the game, is it genuinely has like a pretty good personality, and it kind of sticks with it throughout. Like it is firmly tongue in cheek. And also just the fact that there's like just one NPC that talks in like the thou ye old English and nobody else does, and it's never addressed. It's just perfect. I love that. And also I literally laughed out loud. I lolled for reals when, like, in the first cutscene of the game, your character is just referred to as a little turd. I was like, what am I playing? So, yeah, no, I think the writing's great. Plot's like it, you know, it's whatever. It's fine.
What'd you think, Lucas?
Well, I mean, I think it's fair to say the plot is just all right. It's a little cliche, even if you consider it back then, as in regards to summoning Musashi and there being a magical sword and the MacGuffins that you need to collect to empower the sword, and Wizard of Darkness is as cliche as it gets for a name. And yeah, no, I mostly agree with Shane. It's really the dialogue and the writing that carries the narrative in the game. It's as far as translation, obviously I'm not fluent in Japanese, but I can catch a few things. I'd say that I'm not gonna say I'm 100% know for sure what I'm talking about, but comparing a little bit of the dialogue, I'd say that the localization here is probably more or less in the same vein as a modern localization. Like I'm sure there are liberties being taken. Mostly, a lot of terms and names were changed from, basically, I think you've noticed that a lot of the characters are named after meat and food stuff and drinks. But the way that they choose to translate that, well, in Japanese, just as a reference, just to show an example of what I mean, Capricola, his name in Japanese is Johnny Walker. And the Empire is not called Third Quencher. They're called Lekwa. I actually don't know what it is, but I'm sure it has something to do with alcohol.
Yeah.
Alukani is supposed to be all themed after meat and barbecue. So the Japanese name, I think it's Yakui Niku, the name of the kingdom. I don't know if
Yakiniku Kingdom.
I don't know if Alukani is supposed to be a pun. Maybe I just don't know English enough. It sounds just like a random word for me. Alukani, the English name.
All you can eat. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like a buffet.
I never noticed that. I thought it was just a fancy made up name. Okay, so it's also a pun. Okay, got it. I should have known. Aside from those differences, the characters have those quirks to their speeches, all the like, and Gibson talking with all the extra th and everything. That's basically a localization choice to replace what their speech mannerisms used to be in Japanese. Like, I'm not sure what the like was. I guess they'd speak very casually, like an actual real modern teenager. And Gibson just uses a lot of gozaimasu, which is not that strange. Like, it happens in a lot of Japanese media.
Very formal.
Yeah. I'd say, the dialogue is my favorite thing about this game. Like, the humor is really good. Like, you're not necessarily going to be laughing out loud at the time. I just love how Musashi is, how he responds to things and everyone. Like, he just says whatever he thinks. That's super refreshing for a protagonist. He's not necessarily a complete asshole, but he's kind of rude. Like, he's a little brat, and he doesn't care. I love that. But I mean, he's still an altruistic individual. But yeah, I just love how he responds to the NPCs. There's also one detail that I really like about the narrative in this game. It's just every NPC is voiced, like every single one of them. Even random villagers, like they don't have all the dialogue voice, but they have a voice actor assigned to them. I'm sure some are shared, but they have at least one voice line depending on the time of the day, and that makes me care a little more about those random NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, it's not something every game does that, like especially Japanese games. And there are a few names that I'm not sure why they changed because they're not foodstuff related. Like I just wrote here that I think it's called Lumina is called ray gun in Japanese. And I don't know why they changed
the
that
sword
name.
is called ray gun?
Yeah, as in ray. I think that is supposed to be it's in katakana, but if it was in English, it would probably be. Oh yeah, I think it's no. It's not ray gun as in a gun. It's like ray gunned with a D in the end.
Oh, it's not like legend?
No.
Okay. I thought it would be like a play on the word legend.
I don't think it is. It's just a made up name, I think, unless it's based on some kind of folklore that I'm not aware of. And
probably not. I mean, if it's in katakana, probably not.
Fusion has a different name as well. It sounds a little more like a Japanese sword name, but I don't remember, and I didn't write it down.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to agree with both of you. I think the writing in this game is absolutely delightful. And I think what the biggest shock is, and I think what made this game really special for a lot of people when they picked it up, even if they did buy it for the Final Fantasy VIII demo, is that if you compare it to a lot of the efforts that were coming out at the time, specifically with Squaresoft, this is a localization that didn't fail. Like, a lot of the localization efforts were pretty bad during that era. Whether you look at Final Fantasy VII, that was a pretty bad localization. Final Fantasy Tactics was a notably bad, localization. You look at other companies like Sony and the Wild Arms series that were notoriously bad. Breath of Fire 3 was pretty average at best. So like, this is an example of a major company actually getting localization like right on point. I think whoever Square hired for the localization did a fantastic job. They nailed it. They got all the attitude there. They conveyed all the characters' personalities like extraordinarily. The voice acting, I know we're going to talk about that later in sound, but it really drives the point of the writing home and really makes it feel like a game that you, the player, can, identify and see yourself in. Like, this is a game that's made for you. This is a game that will jive with the American consumer. It's not just, for the Japanese game player, especially when you consider that it has a lot of Japanese folklore tied to it. So, like, incredible job to the localization team here. In terms of the actual plot itself, I think you both said it, very tropish, very generic, but I don't care. Like, it's never taking itself seriously the entire game. Dramatic moments, like near the end of the game, you have like the monster come out. He's not called the Dark Wizard. He actually has a name. I can't remember it, but he comes out and he just like knocks the princess clear across the map like she's a chess piece, and just like flings her all over the place. And it's like, ah, and look, and lo and behold, the princess is fine. Like, nothing happens to her. She's just cool, and she just kind of like bebops around. And then you have Kojiro, who is supposed to be your rival, and he's a major pushover the entire game. It's amazing. I love it. Even if one of the plot twist at the end where the guy has been helping you is like really cheesy, where they're like, oh, I'm doing this because you killed my parents or something to that effect. And it's just like, okay, it's delivered with just the right amount of cheese to make it work. So yeah, I mean, I love this game's dialogue. I love this game's writing. It kind of reminds me of like almost a kabuki comedy, if I want to just stick along that like Japanese line. I know it's not a 1-for-1 at all. I mean, there's way more. It's very slapstick, almost an anime, but not quite. Like, it's not leaning too heavily into the Japanese aspects, even though I just said a kabuki thing. Ignore that. Like, ignore I said anything about kabuki. Nash didn't like bleep it out or do something. Make me sound smarter.
Leave everything in.
But yeah, I mean, it's Saturday morning cartoon-ish without being as dumb. I think I can stand behind that. I love puns. Puns are great. As soon as you bust out the puns, I know that this game is going to take you on a ride. That's its purpose. Like, you can just play the game, have a good time. If something's stupid or doesn't make sense, just roll with it. It's not supposed to. It's fine. Yeah, I love the villains, by the way. All the villains, like, they are very dumb, and I appreciate that.
I actually have a few criticisms about the writing in this game that Well, the last time I replayed this, I wasn't entirely sure if that big review regarding John was supposed to be actually as dramatic as it seems to be. I don't know if they were supposed to take it seriously, or if they were very aware that was super cheesy and rushed. Mm-hmm. I had a big question mark on top of my head, because I remember the first time I played, I was actually surprised by that. But I was a kid. Mm-hmm. But the main criticism I can think of is there are two characters from the Empire that they kind of just vanish from the plot with no explanation. And I think you know who they are. It's the sisters, Bubbles and Ginger Ale.
Mm.
Yeah,
they are very present for a little while. Then there's I think the last scene they show up is when Musashi is inside the Bincho field, and you never see them again. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be implied that they were punished harshly. I don't think so. It really feels like they've forgotten. That has always bothered me.
Yeah, and when you say rushed, I would say there are some times that the game does feel a little rushed in its delivery, especially when you look at just how it's, because it's divided into chapters. In the chapter with the zombies, that chapter is like way longer than the other ones, and so the pacing feels very strange.
Yeah,
I get that the pacing's not always on point.
It feels like they were taking their time with that chapter, and they kind of lost track. Maybe the deadline was looming over, and they realized they were spending too long in that one chapter, and the rest of the game suffered as a result. It just feels like after that chapter, you're not just halfway done the game. It kind of feels like you're a little over the midway point. Because the other chapters, they feel at least half as long, if not less than that. Chapter 5 is super short. It's very uneven.
And like, there's not a lot of development with what the NPCs are doing or what they're going through. Whereas the zombie one, it seems like it's a little bit more fleshed out appropriately. And that's where you get the debut of the sisters. And yeah, you're right. They just kind of disappear. They go away. Like, you don't hear anything more about them. Anything else to add, Shane?
No, I think it's mostly spot on. I will say that I did really appreciate the introduction of Musashi's nemesis, mostly because it was just it was completely played for laughs, and I appreciated that. She was all like, "Oh, I'm going to be a genius and summon another hero because I have the power." And then she does it, and he's like, I do not give a shit about you. I just want revenge on this guy. And that was it.
Yeah, I just want to find him. Yeah. I actually like the lack of a backstory in the game as opposed to reading the manual. I think not reading the manual actually makes things a little bit better.
It's a little weird because in regards to Musashi and Kojiro, I guess if you're Japanese, you don't really need a backstory since they're more or less based on the real rivals. Kojiro complaining about Musashi being late is a reference to Miyamoto Musashi arriving late to a duel with Kojiro on purpose. And the location you duel him is also supposed to be based on the I forgot what the real location was, but it was a coastal area. And I think he beats Kojiro using a sword he carved from the ore, something like that, which is, I guess Lumina is kind of supposed to be based on that, but that I'm digressing. That's really nothing to do with this topic anymore.
Well, let's get into the gameplay. You know, the meat of the game here. This is an action RPG. It's a fully 3D action RPG played at an isometric viewpoint. You have two swords, which Lucas has mentioned, Fusion and Lumina. Fusion is controlled with the square button. Lumina is controlled with the triangle button. And also, there's all sorts of abilities that come with both swords. One is depending on what crests you have that you obtain throughout the game. That's more in line with Lumina, but also goes with Fusion. And Fusion can also fuse with enemies and steal their abilities. That will allow you to do various things during the game. Camera perspective does change from time to time with light platforming elements. And of course, as an action RPG, it does have some RPG elements, which are a little bit innovative, I would say. All right, so there's the primer. Lucas, what did you think of this game's gameplay?
Overall, I like it, but I definitely can see all the rough edges in it. It's, for some of it, it's kind of hard to be very objective about it because I know for sure that the combat, if you focus only on whacking enemies with a sword, it's super simplistic to the point that it doesn't feel super great, especially if you're using Fusion. The reach is very short, and for some enemies that means you're gonna get hit while trying to reach them. It's like a glowing toothpick almost. So I'm glad the copy abilities exist because that basically adds a lot to to make the combat feel, well, not just the combat, but just overall gameplay, the exploration, and just going through areas with enemies feel a little more fresh, and you can add some more replayability to it using those. The platforming, it's really hard to think of a way to defend it. I don't think it's like I guess one thing I can say is that people have to remember that this is essentially Square's first fully 3D game. I know that Sobao #1 existed and Square published it, but they didn't make it, so I don't think that counts. So it's like learning pains as far as I'm concerned. And the double jump does help a lot with that. But before you get the double jump, some of the platforming can be really frustrating. But I think they were very aware that it was going to be a little difficult because you don't really, the punishment you get is usually losing like a measly amount of HP and then being sent back to where you fell from. So it's a little annoying, let's say, but it's not the end of the world. And the one thing I think there is one aspect of the game that I don't know if I guess this falls into the gameplay, which is just how the game expects you to progress. I guess it's a good time to talk about that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gameplay loop in this game it might feel a little old-fashioned. Because remember those RPGs from like the NES, like Dragon Quest 1 or 2 or Final Fantasy 1, where you're supposed to talk to everyone to find out where you're supposed to go.
I have heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, but I can forgive Musashi a little more. Like it's one of those things that you're gonna have more or less problems with depending on where you come from when you're playing this game for the first time. Because back then, I was so impressed with the fact that all the NPCs talked and that they would greet me if I talked to them. They would say good morning, good night, ask how I'm doing, that it felt somewhat like almost like a life simulator before I knew what a life simulator was. And I think the developers were counting on that. I think they were counting on the players just feeling like that Greenland Village was their temporary home, and that they would care about all those NPCs and talk around and find out about the rumors and using that as a guidance. In fact, the NPCs will track how long you haven't talked to them, almost like Animal Crossing. Like if you spend too long without talking to them, they will say things like, "Oh my God, you're alive," and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to a lot of the NPCs, so.
Yeah. That's like I never stopped to think about it because I know a lot of people would probably not do it, but I'm so used to doing it that it's just, to me, it's just part of the game, which is just talking all the time with the villagers. Not only because that aspect of trying to feel like almost a life simulator light, but also because the dialogue itself is, I find it interesting enough. They try to make it somewhat amusing. It's not all serious, and every NPC has a little bit of a story. Like if you talk to the same NPCs throughout the game, you notice that there's a little bit of a development going on with their lives. There is one good example I can think of is an old lady. I think it's the only old lady in town. She thinks you're her grandson Bob. Yeah, she keeps calling you Bob, and she compliments you, and then she talks about buying you a present or something. And by the last chapter, she passes away. And you find that out through her husband, which is another NPC you can talk to, who is usually what he does. I think he's a farmer for one of the wheat crops. And you don't really feel anything unless you've been talking to her throughout the entire game. And there's another guy who you find out who's a fan of toys. He even has a routine that involves going to the toy store around always the same hour of the day. And he keeps talking about the toy that he wants to get. Eventually, you find out through him that he finally got it because it was a really rare toy and he was able to get it. Like it's not really plot important, like plot relevant, but it's just interesting to see that they took the time to build a routine for every NPC and have these little sub stories in their lives that you get some updates on them if you keep talking to them. Honestly, I think the scrolls, the elemental scrolls, which are supposed to be, they're basically response to Zelda items. They are all right. I never felt like they were super, and I don't know. I think Zelda items are more interesting to use in general. And it's kind of disappointing. Like you can use them in battle, but they tend not to be very effective. They are super situational if you want to use them in combat. So I basically use them to solve the puzzle that requires them and never use them again. So they felt a little undercooked. Oh, right, the boss. I guess I should also comment on this. I don't know if you noticed this, but the leveling system in this game doesn't affect bosses at all. Like it doesn't matter if you're level 1. I mean, it's not possible to say level 1, but it doesn't matter if your stats are like in the minimum or the maximum. Your damage to most bosses. I guess there are a few exceptions when you get to the final dungeon, because they don't have they work a little differently. But for every major boss, like the Grass Guardians, your damage is always going to be the same. The damage you take is always going to be the same as well. So the leveling system, it feels a little like if you don't bother too much with regular enemies, it's pretty irrelevant. There is no need to grind, which is, I guess it's a positive. It's a little disappointing to me because they make the whole big deal about limit levels being broken when you beat a boss. So it doesn't matter in the end. Even if you don't level up, the enemies don't have a lot of health anyway. Especially when you get the combos, or if you're using a lot of copy abilities. The copy abilities, I don't think they have. I think they have fixed damage, so stats doesn't matter for that either. I guess a lot of the features in this game, like there are a lot of them, and not all of them are super well implemented to the point of adding a lot of weight. I guess they're not super. They don't have a lot of depth, or they're not really properly balanced. But somehow everything works together in a way that at least you got enough that side dressing that doesn't make things feel too repetitive, especially the copy abilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you covered a lot.
Oh,
I'm gonna. I mean, you covered a lot of it. I'll agree with a lot of what you said there. Let me start at some of the things that you pointed out that I didn't know that I thought were really cool. I didn't know that the villagers had their own little plot lines going on. Like when you told me about like the fact that, you have a whole entire subplot for a woman who dies at the end. Like that's nuts. Now there are some things like you have from these type of games that you keep talking to NPCs. You do find things so that the NPC as the game progresses that gets a toy. I could see that. That's kind of cool. But like those little details going on throughout the game that you don't usually expect that's some cool stuff. I'm going to start with most of my negatives here. I want to get this out of the way. The platforming can be atrocious, just simply atrocious. And what do I mean by this is that the thing that stuck out to me at the beginning, just let me know how bad this could get at times, is when you're going up Twin Peak Mountain and you have to jump on a series of ribs in order to get across. I was already having some problems with some of the slopes and stuff like that. But it got to the point like I was jumping on these ribs and Musashi would just fall right through them. Mm-hmm. Like he would just clip right through the ribs.
That happens to me too. To this day.
I was so frustrated. And there's just times where the camera angle isn't like the best. And the camera's fixed as far as I can remember, except for like in the town. But like if you're in a dungeon, the camera's always fixed. And so if you don't like the angle you got and you're trying to jump and like trying to measure the depth, which isn't always the best. And like the controls are also very sensitive, especially because this is one of the first games that Square made with the Sony analog controller, the DualShock. And it becomes really, really touchy. So there are some problems there. Fortunately, like you said, you're not punished too harshly. The other thing, like it goes back to your life simulator point. The game goes into that, leans into it a little too much, because sometimes to progress the plot, you got to go to a certain store, and that certain store might be only open at certain times on certain days. So if you're there the wrong day, you have to just sleep and watch Musashi sleep for quite a while. It can be like 5-10 minutes, which is, not a long time in real life, but it's annoying. And I do like the sleep mechanic, so I'll get to some of those. The limited inventory space can be a little can be a little jarring, especially at the end of the game when you don't really know how bad your limited inventory can affect you, especially if you're struggling with the bosses. That kind of irritated me a little bit. I didn't find the combat bad. I thought using Fusion and Lumina was fine. I didn't really have a problem too much with the combat. It took me a little while to learn how to block properly, especially with the enemies that shoot at me. because I felt like I was getting kind of screwed over. Once I learned that was fine. So that's good. But those are kind of my biggest complaints with Musashi. Is I've already talked about the pacing in terms of the storytelling, but the platforming bad. I'll say it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss, mostly miss. It can be very, very, very frustrating. And sometimes the combat itself, the timing, the whole entire life simulator, things are open between this time and this time. That just drove me crazy. Just did not appreciate that. I think the combat's good, especially when you learn what enemies give you what, because sometimes like fusing with the wrong enemy can screw you over. Crest abilities, yes, mostly useless. Very situational, can help you get new stuff. But I do like the fact that exploration does reward you with finding villagers. I do like the fact that finding villagers can give you new abilities. I do like that some of the abilities are useful, especially when you fling the enemy up and then you can impale them with Lumina. Lumpia would be a great name for the sword, considering the theming. I do like the combat, and sometimes the gameplay does go really well in a 3D environment. Like when you're running around, it has a really good presentation to it. I think Musashi does move very well when you're not being asked to jump constantly. And sometimes when you are, it does work out very well. I really can be into that. I like the boss fights. I think the boss fights are great. I think they have the right level of challenge, if not a little too easy, but I think they're well designed. They're well crafted. They do test your ability to, know the abilities. How much have you been playing with it? How much do you understand the abilities? How much can you use them against the boss fight? Much in the same vein of a Zelda. So I do appreciate them. They're not too cryptic. I didn't find them very irritating. And especially at the end boss fights, with the exception of the Rhythm Girl. Screw that boss fight.
Oh, really? I love that.
I didn't
one.
like the dancing minigame.
I was gonna ask if you really meant like when you said that you like the boss battles, because there are two in particular that I forgot to mention. That I think like they're not difficult or anything. They're not cryptic. It's just that their designs, the Scorpion and the Tower of Death. Do you like those two?
Which one? Which one's the Scorpion? Is that the first one?
The first
where
one.
You have to drop the thing on him?
Yeah.
I like that.
I have a problem with that because maybe it's because I've played this game so many times that I want to hurry up. That is not a boss fight that can hurry up. Like there's a lot of RNG involved because if you rely on the NPCs giving you the right baskets, and they might just waste your time over and over with useless herbs. And sometimes the Scorpion will do the same moves that you have to focus at, and you can't just make the bomb drop, that kind of stuff. Do you remember the Tower of Death? Not
in too much detail. Just remind me really quick.
It's
if you remind me, I can start remembering.
It's the last Crest Guardian. It's the huge pillar full of balls.
Oh, I love that boss.
Oh, really?
I love that boss.
I'm very surprised because that one always tests my patience because you can't predict where you're supposed to where the glowy weak point is supposed to show up. If you're unlucky, you're gonna be flying for a while.
It's more mastery of controls and learning to get out of the way. And I don't know. I liked it. I had a great time with it.
Okay.
I love that boss fight. I thought in fact, I think one of the worst boss fights in the game was the final boss fight.
Oh.
I think that was boring.
Oh, okay. No, well, okay. We're very different in your opinions. I also really like the final boss. It feels like
all you got to do is jump and hit him in the face a bunch of times, and it's over.
It feels like a really logical final challenge, considering it uses your knowledge of all the elements and learning to.
Oh, okay. The not the final boss fight, the second to last boss fight.
Oh yeah, that one's terrible.
The final boss fight I liked. Yeah. The second to last boss fight I thought was stupid. The last boss fight, yeah, I really like that one. I guess
I've noticed that my issue with the two I mentioned is just that I'm very impatient.
Shane, let's get you involved.
Yes. Hi. Hello.
Hi. What are your thoughts about the gameplay here?
So I agree that one of the things that really bothered me about the combat in general was that I felt that Musashi's reach was not enough. You had to get too uncomfortably close to enemies in order to like reliably hit them. And even with the combos that you learn by saving certain villagers, which is cool, by the way, I really like the fact that you can unlock new things by, saving different types of villagers and stuff. Really neat concept. But even with those combos, it still didn't feel great. I really wish that his reach would have been a little bit longer. So that kind of bothered me, especially in an action RPG. Like
the princess says that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like, especially in an action RPG, I feel like that's sort of a critical piece, is making sure the combat feels good. And it's okay. It's not terrible, but it definitely leaves something to be desired. What's interesting is, like, Lucas, you brought up the thing about the boss fights, and I didn't even really stop and think about that the way that they're structured, because they're very like Zelda-esque boss fights, in that, you hit a weak point and it does like a fixed amount of damage or whatever, kind of completely negates any of the leveling mechanics that are, otherwise important to, I guess, the rest of the game. So I guess because I didn't notice it, I suppose it didn't really bother me too much, but that is an interesting viewpoint on it. And I can see why that would be something that might kind of irritate you about that, because it does kind of take away from that sense of achievement in like leveling up your character. But then again, like I almost feel like the RPG pieces of this, at least mechanically, seem kind of just like superfluous. Like I never really felt like it made a damn bit of difference, to be honest. Like, do I notice that I'm doing slightly more damage when the little damage numbers float up when I hit things after I level or whatever? Sure. Yeah. But like, you have 4 different attributes, right? Well, I don't even remember.
I don't know what mine did.
Oh, it decreases the damage you receive.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, then what does body do?
And you barely notice. I tried. I leveled to max and I barely noticed the difference.
Yeah.
No, I noticed a difference in damage being done to me. I just thought that was body.
No, body strength, body, fusion, lumina are all basically attack plus.
Oh.
Yeah, you get, so you level fusion by, or I think it's fusion by, or no, damn it. Lucas, help me out here. What's the stat that you level by using Lumina? It's just called Lumina. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Lumina and Fusion. So those are leveled separately by actively using each one of those. And then you have mind and body. And okay, so mind is damage reduction and body is damage increase.
Oh, but did you know that there is a counter mechanic and it levels both swords at the same time? At least as far as I can tell. I don't know if the manual mentions that, but if you defend and then you press an attack button at the right time, it has the attack from the enemy connects and your bar is full. You do a super powerful counter mechanic that deals like a shit ton of damage and gives experience to both swords.
Oh,
I did not know
I didn't
that.
know that either. Well, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was the game doesn't tell that, so I wasn't sure if the manual did.
Yeah, so I mean, by and large, it's neat that it has the little RPG elements there, but I really feel like they probably could have just gone straight up action game and just completely thrown that stuff out, and it really wouldn't have made much of a difference. I do think the different abilities that you get from the scrolls are pretty cool. I generally liked how they were incorporated into the gameplay. Having said that, because this immediately comes to mind, and if you were watching me on stream, you saw this happen in real time, but I absolutely hated the fire boss. That sucked, and I hated everything about it. And that really revolved
I like that boss.
Around like using your newfound water powers. And man, mechanically, that encounter just sucks. There's so much like RNG that's part of it that just makes it feel bad. Like, especially when those types of boss encounters traditionally sort of rely on pattern recognition, and you can do that to a certain extent, but then there's an element of randomness to quite a few of like the preset moves that boss does that is just like infuriating. So I hated that. But anyway, yeah, that's generally my take, I guess. The game definitely felt a lot better to play as soon as I got the double jump, but 3-dimensional platforming is really hard to nail. And I don't think they did here because I fell off of shit constantly. And I know that that's not just a skill issue.
Well, the fact that you're so lightly penalized for falling into shit kind of tells you they knew.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's kind of bad. It's kind of jank.
Yeah, you'll take a little damage and then we'll just put you back where you were. It's fine.
The platforming is one thing that I vaguely remember pissing me off the first time I played, but it's been so long. I don't know. I feel like I've played much worse. Like it could have been done better, but I also think it could have been much worse as one of those earlier 3D games. I mean,
yeah. Oh, what did you guys think about the Minku berries? I have mixed feelings because like the game never tells you. Maybe the manual does, of course. Like, put the asterisk. Manual may tell you. The manual never tells you how to increase your hit points. And in order to increase your hit points, you need to find these little fuckers. And the only notion you ever get is you walk up to, like, there's a berry sitting there. And there's one in the first area. Just says, oh, there's dung. There might be something around. I'm like, okay, this might be something later. And you have to wait until 10 p.m. for them to come out. And then you find them. And then you have to catch them and throw them. And that's how you get hit points. I think I spent like the first 3 chapters at 150 hit points because I didn't know that that's what you had to do.
Yeah,
and I finally found out. I'm like, oh,
yeah, I had to look that up because like when I came across that first one, I was like, okay, obviously this is something. Like they wouldn't just put that there. So I went and looked it up and I was like, oh, you got to wait until this very specific time frame. And then this rabbit looking thing comes out and you got to catch it. And I'm like, neat. I would have never known that.
Yeah. But when you beat a boss, you get extra Bincho points, BP, which controls your abilities, which aren't all that terribly important until one of the best sections of the game where you get to like run around with a rocket launcher. Up until then, like BP, like I never worried about BP.
Well, if you had fewer BP, you would be going hungry earlier, and that's just as bad as being sleepy.
Well, essentially, once you get the legendary quilt, it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, okay, about that one, you have to choose to make that one.
Yeah, I mean, the quilt's the easy one, though.
Yeah, I chose, because you're supposed to be choose between 2 accessories. One helps with sleeping, which I think resets your tiredness all the way to 0. The other one increases your critical hit rate. That's the one I always go with. And yeah, it's like I feel like if a player, I assume that if a player knew that one of them was going to give more attack, they would always go with that one.
Mm-hmm. But because it increases your hunger, it increases your BP, HP, and brings down your tire to 0. Easy choice for me is the quilt. And I like the NPC even tells you that you should probably get the quilt when you first meet her. She's like, I can't wait to make a quilt. And then she's like, well, I can make you gloves. And I'm like, I guess critical hits are important, but you know what's even more important? Not having to carry a mint with me all the time.
But that's what inventory is for. I always fill with mint and nothing else. In fact,
all right. I think we're. Oh, go ahead.
No, just a few things I wanted to, because I forgot to mention this as well. The sleep mechanic, you said that you liked the sleep mechanic itself.
I do like it.
Okay,
You don't?
No, I don't. Because I noticed that the last few times I played. I think I noticed that when I played for my video as well, which is, I think this game, it feels like they were halfway into making a proper live scene, and some of these live scene elements, I think, end up being a detriment to the experience, especially the sleep mechanic.
I agree with that. Yes.
Because what benefit is there? You're inside a dungeon. You can't just turn back and go all the way to the village. But your tiredness is like over 50%. As a result, you're walking slower, and your jump sucks. Actually, no, I guess the jump isn't affected. But your moving speed sucks, and eventually your attack, your Musashi is not going to attack right either. It gets to a point where he barely swings the sword. and then you have to stop everything and just lie down like a wino in the middle of a dungeon. That's not interesting in the slightest, in my opinion. That's just you're forcing the player to wait for no reason. I don't think
the reason.
I agree.
So okay, since I'm the odd man out here, the reason I like it is one, you can carry gel with you up until you get the quilt, not gel, mint. You can get the mint. There's usually enemies that help you with your fatigue throughout the dungeon with the proper fusion usage. So if you're in an area for too long, you usually get the enemies with mint, and I never had to worry about being too tired. I don't think I worried about being too tired in the game whatsoever. The reason I would use the sleep mechanic is if I took too much damage from constantly falling off platforms, there at least was something that would allow me to recover my hit points when I didn't have the inventory available, instead of just wandering around forever. It would allow me to regenerate my hit points quicker. So it gave me a brief reprieve before going into a boss when I may not have had the inventory in order to replenish my health. And it provided me a good little reset. In terms of the life sim aspect, no, I completely agree with you that like the only way to advance time is just sleep, because there's nothing else to do, and just like wait until you can get into the appropriate store or whatever. In that aspect, I didn't like it, but I did appreciate the fact that in dungeons, and I wanted to use it more in the final dungeon, but you can't sleep in the final dungeon. So you have to rely on your inventory going in there and have it set up appropriately. But it's very useful in making sure that your hit points are replenished prior to going to any boss fight. I understand you still have to wait and like sit around for a while in order for that to happen, and that does suck. But at least it's an option. You don't have to go all the way back to town, replenish your inventory, get more items, go back to where you're in the dungeon, and then reset. So I do like it for that.
I don't know. I feel like
approach.
I can see where you're coming from with that, but at the same time, other games have accomplished that by doing similar but different things, like allowing you to stop and like meditate, for example, or something like that. But it's not tied to
like an East,
yeah. But it's not tied to an explicit like tiredness meter, like a survival game. Like I feel like they tried a bunch of different things in this game, and some of them probably could have been streamlined and it would have been fine. Like I just generally don't think that the sleep meter really adds anything useful to the game. You can accomplish healing in so many other less intrusive ways than basically forcing you to be like, okay, well, I'm basically just managing this. It's a problem I'm managing. So like either I'm bringing mint with me everywhere so that I'm just constantly hyped and never sleeping, or I have to, as Lucas said, like just stop playing the game in the middle of an area or a dungeon and just watch your character sleep for a while. Like it just seems like it was tacked on and it doesn't really add anything. And the life sim portion, I also was just like, why are we doing this? Like, it's kind of a neat concept, but it doesn't really have an impact. That's why I asked, like when I was streaming this, I was like, hey, so does anybody know, do the days, like because it keeps track of the number of like in-game days.
It does.
And you're like, does this matter? They're like, no, not really. I'm like, then why the fuck is this here? Like
having it keep track pissed me off too. It had me wondering the same thing. It made me anxious.
Yeah, because it was like, if I don't do something in a certain number of days, like, do I fail? Like, is something going to happen? And not really.
I'm just curious what happens when it reaches 999, if it's going to stop counting or if it's going to reset to 0 or something. But I guess we'll never know, because that's a long time to wait, even with a
you
really
go into
fast
minus
forward.
days.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I like some of the life sim aspects. Like I said, I like the village. I like how the village works. I don't mind that there are holidays. And because for that kind of thing, I'm strangely patient. Like, if it's closed, I'm just going somewhere to level up and come back the other day. In terms of healing, I guess I never slept as a way to restore my health, because enemies tend to drop hearts pretty often, for me anyway.
I did not experience that. They rarely dropped hearts.
So, but yeah, the frequency they drop hearts depends on how much health you have. Usually, if you have, let's say, you have 300 max, if you're getting sub 100, they start dropping hearts, usually the big ones. The Bincho points depleting and make you hungry didn't bother me as much because Bincho points are also pretty easy to recover. But yeah, I hate this.
That's true.
I hate this mechanic so much that every time I play, because I'm used to not taking too many hits, I just do my inventory mints. I wasn't joking. That's what I do. Never play through because I don't want to waste time sleeping. I just I want to move on and carry mints if I have to. Thankfully, the game does upgrade the mints to like H mints, I think they're called later, which will restore more of the sleep gauge. I don't know if you tried playing with the D-pad, but the momentum works kind of different. I noticed
it does work different.
Yeah, it's sometimes if you're doing really tight platforming, it feels like the D-pad is better because Musashi will go full speed right away with the analog stick, and he doesn't stop right away.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. That pissed me off so much.
Yeah, and then
oh my god,
when you mentioned the twin,
you unlocked a rage.
yeah, like when you mentioned that section, the Twin Peak Mountains, that's when I realized that, like, why is Musashi taking so long to stop and just falling off? So I tried using the D-pad, and it's much easier to handle.
Yes. Oh my god. Okay, yeah. That was the biggest problem with the platforming. That you just triggered like PTSD. Okay. So like jumping on the platforms, I would just land on them and he would slide off of them.
Yep.
Unless I would jump, and right when I was right over, I had to pull slightly back on the analog stick so he wouldn't fly around. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I hated that.
I eventually learned to swap to using the D-pad for just that. Like, I use the D-pad for precision jumps, and it worked pretty well. And then the rest of the game, I just used the analog stick. But it is weird that you kind of have to do that.
I think
yes,
it was probably they were probably struggling a little bit. Like I have a feeling. I mean, the game was being developed before the dual analog existed, so they probably. The game was probably meant for the D-pad originally. Then they implemented the dual analog, which is, I mean, aside from from Musashi's lining all over the place, it for something that was added later, it was done relatively well. So I can't fault them too much for it.
I think it was actually done like quite well considering how early this was.
Yeah,
for Square, I think it was done pretty well. Still irritated me with those jumps. Are we ready to move on to the graphical presentation?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. I'll kick this one off. I'll say that the graphics look very good. I like colorful graphics. So I'm going to give this game its flowers in all of that regards because I like colors, big bright colors. I love the simplistic models, but I can also say that this is not the best looking PlayStation game. And you can, like, the character models have issues. There's a lot of clipping. There's with the polygons. They're not the most detailed. Some of them look kind of frumpy. It's just, but I adore it. I adore the style. It feels, I want to say it. I want to say it was an artistic choice and direction, but I'm not sure about that because, like, this is in between Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII, if you look at how Square was doing things graphically. And you see what they did on the world map for Final Fantasy VII. Now, Musashi looks way better than the Final Fantasy VII models, but it looks considerably far off from the Final Fantasy VIII models. So I have to wonder if that's just something that was in the between in development. This being a fully 3D game, which neither of the Final Fantasy games were, or a lot of games that Square was really making at this point. So I can understand that the character models were kind of a missing link, if you want to view it that way. And I think they made the most of what they knew, which I appreciate. But you can tell they could make more detailed character models when you went to go play with the toys, because those character models were very detailed. They're much more detailed than the character models you played with out in the in the world. So it's a mixed bag. I just love colorful games though. So I love the artistic choice. I love the design choice. I love the way this game presents itself in that way, while acknowledging, yeah, it's not the best looking one. What do you think, Shane?
Well, I think I would have to imagine that the reason the fidelity on the models for the little collectible action figures that you can buy in the game are probably because it's the only thing that's really on screen at that time, so they can dedicate more resources to it. So there, I
would say so. Yeah.
So I mean, there's that. So my overall take is it is a PS1 ass looking game. And that's true. With all of the baggage that comes with that, the jittery textures, the blocky polygons, all that stuff. But coming at it, you know, this far in the future from when it was released, I have a hard time not looking at it as just being really charming in like a quaint sort of way. And I know that that's sort of like retroactively applying that to the game. If you're talking, you know, like contemporaneously, it's fine. I do think that generally with most games, a more colorful palette is going to go a long way to not only making it look better by honestly in some ways covering up some of the flaws, but also it helps a game to age better. That's why something like Super Mario 64 is generally going to look better than, let's just go with Gauntlet Legends. I like to pick on that one because it's one of my personal favorites, but it also looks like shit. So there's that.
It does.
So, you know, and I think that's a really good illustration. And this game does a pretty good job of being very vibrant. I particularly like Musashi's character model. I like some of the attention to detail, like the little grimace face that he makes when he's like carrying a heavy object, like that bell that you need to find and things like that. So I think part of it, not just like projecting nostalgia onto it, but also the fact that when someone has to work with a limited amount of resources, it sort of breeds creativity in a way that is not always found nowadays because it's out of pure necessity, right? Of like, I need to make this thing be as expressive as possible with the limited tools at my disposal. And that creativity comes out in very expressive character models and things like that. And so, or like, you know, in ingenious ways to try to convey things with, you know, a very limited palette, whether that happens to be colors or assets or what have you. So to me, I think a lot of this game's charm, part of that is coming from the writing that we talked about earlier, but the other part of it really is the visual presentation. Like, is it the greatest looking game? No, absolutely not. But I think it has a lot of personality. And I think that goes a real long way. Like, I can forgive a lot of visual sins if, you know, the art direction and the art style is on point. And for the most part, I think this game does that pretty well.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Lucas?
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, I'm sure the hardware technology, the limitations that came with that were part of the reason. But I like that if you compare the models, the character art, not from Nomura, but from the lead artist, you will notice that it's a pretty close approximation. Like, not well in terms of just the characters are very simple. Like when you see, if you look at the credits of the game where they showcase a lot of concept art, the characters are very deformed and short. Some of them don't have noses, even in the official art. And I guess that's pretty easy to translate. That's easier to translate to the models of the game. I'm sure that one of the reasons that the characters look so simple, like all the models, the enemies as well, look relatively simple compared to what would come in games like Final Fantasy VIII, is performance. This is an action RPG, so they probably can't go too wild with that, given the size of the maps, which are already pretty segmented between loading screens. I don't know if I would say this is one of the better looking PlayStation 1 games, but there are some details to certain areas in it that I think it still look pretty cool for a PlayStation 1 game. Like in some areas, there is a little extra detail given to the water physics going on with the scenario compared to other areas where the water is just a flat surface, just a flat still surface, like in most games.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the environments are mostly well done.
Yeah, some more than others. I think I actually not super into Musashi's model himself. I still think he looks kind of weird compared to everyone else, and he's the main character. But he's expressive enough, which is good.
The enemy models are typically like the enemy character models, like not the enemies you fight, but like the
bad guys,
the NPCs. Yeah, the bad guys. Their models are actually pretty decent.
Yeah, and they were pretty smart about making everyone super deformed from the start, so that it doesn't look too disconnected from what they're supposed to look like. And it's no wonder that Nomura wasn't the de facto character designer, as in for everyone in the game, because his art was a little too detailed for it. But you get an approximation if you look at the toys, since they are a lot more detailed. But I have a feeling that some of the toys are made comically more like well proportioned. Like Musashi looks like an adult. If you check his toy, it's kind of funny to me because it still has the kid voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's overall pretty good as well. I don't think it's an ugly game. It's not the best looking, but it looks good enough. I'd say it's. I think the one game that came to mind as well that did this really well about choosing an art direction that would help it age better, despite using very low poly 3D, would be Mega Man Legends. I think that one has an edge.
Yeah.
Because it manages to make the characters a little less super stubby, or with almost Popeye hands from Final Fantasy 7. But this isn't bad.
Yeah, I think it's time. I think time appropriate is the best way I could say it. And a lot of the environments do look good, especially for, was it 98? 98.
Yeah, it's 98.
Yeah, it looks good for a 98.
I guess I'm more impressed by little details
Certainly.
in some locations than the game as a whole.
Yeah, I would agree. Right, let's move on to the sound design. Lucas, I'll let you start this one. What do you think of this game's audio presentation?
Yeah, gotta start with the voice acting, which is the obvious one. It's fantastic. I have always said that this is one of the best voice actings in gaming, period. And I still stand by that. I'm shocked by how well it aged. Like for many years, I still held this game as the standard for voice acting, for English voice acting games. I'd say up until sometime in the PlayStation 2 era, it still blows my mind to this day when I picked this up and started. And I never heard, and when I show it to other people, I never seen anyone like laugh at the quality of the voice acting. People they're laughing because something about the what's going on is funny, and people just recognize a lot of voices, which I don't. Full disclosure, because I'm Brazilian, I obviously don't watch anime in English, so I don't recognize a lot of the voices. I had to look them up online to find out how many of those became prolific voice actors. Most of them did, especially the main actress. I think she voices. It's the character from South Park. What's her name? I think it's Kyle's mom.
Really?
Yeah, or a politician lady. I don't, because I haven't seen South Park in ages, and that's, I think, one of the characters she voices the most lately. I don't remember the rest. I think there's some people that have been voicing X-Men characters. There are a lot of anime voice actors. And surprisingly, Japanese, maybe not so surprisingly, because they tend to do this stuff, especially Square Enix. A lot of famous voice actors in the Japanese casting as well. The one that stands out to me is the main voice actress. Rika Matsumoto voices Musashi. She was official voice actress for Ash Ketchum during the entire run of the Pokemon anime.
I knew I recognized that voice.
Wait, you play in Japanese?
I swapped it back and forth a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that you could do that. Well,
You can,
Musashi
if you know how.
Musashi definitely sounds exactly like how she voices Ash. I don't remember the rest of them, but I do remember that there are other prolific voice actors. Now, in terms of sound effects, it ranges from all right to what the heck is this? Like, because there's a lot of stock sounds that you can recognize, like sound effects that I don't know if any of you ever seen Hanna-Barbera cartoons when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a minute, but yes.
Yeah, I remember them well because even the late 90s, Cartoon Network in Brazil was airing those shows. So some of the sound effects are stuck in my head. And I recognize them in the game. So it always takes me out of the game. It's a little too cheesy. And but the one that always makes me want to take a few points away from the game is the sound that you make when hit enemies with a sword. It doesn't sound like you're using a sword. It sounds like you're hitting enemies with a paper fan or something. It's strange. So
I would tend to agree with that part. Yeah.
And well, the music, I'm probably not say too much about it because I'm sure you also share this sentiment. The music is fantastic. It's by I can't remember his name, but I think the composer, he's still with Square. He worked on, I think he's part of the band that makes the music for the Bravely series now, which doesn't sound too much like Musashi at all. But the fact that I think this may have been his first, no, it wasn't. I think he came from Konami. Yeah, I think he started Square with this game, and he's been there since. He made some music for Kingdom Hearts, made some music for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and for Visions of Mana, which I haven't experienced yet.
There's quite a bit of overlap between this game and Kingdom Hearts too.
Yeah, and he made
not all of the games, but some of the games.
Oh, right. He also made he contributed to the Big Story Masters arrangements as well. His name is Yoshi Sekito. I'm surprised that I didn't know his name until I replayed this, since he worked on so much stuff there. But yeah, the music is fantastic. It's the most consistently good thing about the game, other than voice acting.
But by the way, the voice actress you were looking for was Mona Marshall.
Oh, that's right.
And yes, the voice actors here that is a murderer's row for its time. So yeah, Mona Marshall, who is the voice actor for Sheila Brovlasky, plays Musashi. Steve Blum,
yeah,
who is also the voice of Spike Spiegel, voiced John. You have Paul St. Peter, who I had to look up here, who is you might recognize this one, Shane, is the voice of Xemnas in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that one I recognize.
It's just, I'm not going to look through all of them. If you just go on IMDb, type up Brave Fencer Musashi, this is a very notable list of voice actors for its time. Like, I'm surprised. Like, this is high production getting these voice actors from Square Enix. They were definitely using that Final Fantasy VII money for sure. This is mind blowing.
They may have used the fact that the game had so much voice acting as part of the marketing strategy. So they were going all out for the voice acting, especially after a time, which still wasn't too common.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me when NEC brought over East 1, not 3, East 1 and 2, and they like blew their budget on getting professional voice actors.
Yeah.
This reminds me a lot of that. Before I get to my thoughts, Shane, what did you think of the sound presentation in this game? Audio.
Yeah, I think Lucas actually covered it pretty well. I would just echo the sentiments specifically around the voice acting. I absolutely adore the voice acting in this game. Like, it is just the right level of like B-movie / Saturday morning cartoon over the topness without being cringy. Like, it strikes that balance, I think, perfectly. And I think that's because it's very self-aware, which helps a lot. But yeah, man, it's real good. Obviously the music's great, but I think the real standout for me here definitely is the voice acting for sure.
Yeah, there's not much more for me to add here. The voice acting, yeah, great. Music, fantastic. Sound ain't perfect, but it's not bad. I think there's a little bit of the comedy element when it comes to the actual sounds, especially like when you have the pogo sword and stuff like that. So I think that it was meant to be over the top and not meant to sound super realistic in any sense. But that's not negating the legitimate criticism I think that Lucas levied there against how the swords sound. But overall, I like the sound design. Everything about the sound design is incredible in this game. Not much more I have to add from what Lucas said or what Shane said. So that's all I'm going to say is I defer to you two because you already said it. But you know what? It is time for other people to say things. Now it's time for our patrons to sound off about what they think about Brave Fencer Musashi. I already went over how you can join the Patreon. It's all patrons can comment on this. You just got to join our Discord, and you can join the Discord for free. You don't got to be a Patreon for that, but you do need to be a patron in order to comment on an episode. All right, first up is Matt, aka Stormageddon from the Fun and Games and Reignite podcast. They are always like the first person to comment, and I love them for it. And Matt says, "What a fun little game. Has its flaws for sure, but cheesy and delightful in all the best ways. One of my earliest experiences with full-on voice acting in a video game, and I was completely charmed by this goofy cast of characters." Thank you, Matt.
All right. Next up on the list, we have Captain N from Retrotopia, who tells us, "I bought this game for the Final Fantasy VIII demo disc that came with it. Happily, this turned out to be a fun game with a quirky story and characters. I love the Kirby-like mechanic of stealing enemy skills to solve puzzles. Finally, the terrible voice acting. Campy line delivery and accents that would make a southerner blush are what make this game great." I'm gonna assume you meant terrible as in like so bad it's good. I'm going to assume.
I disagree.
I disagree too, but like
I just think it's good.
I'm just trying to make the best of what I'm going to say is a wrong opinion. Like we love you and you're allowed your opinion. So thank you for contributing, but also you're wrong.
But we have learned today that Musashi is a big fat bitch.
The biggest bitch in the whole wide world.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. Bear with me. I can barely speak English. Lethko from Afterglow podcast says, "I also got this game for Final Fantasy VIII demo disc, not at full price, when it cheaped in a pawn shop shortly after it released. The game itself was okay, definitely a little goofy, but not in a bad way. The resting requirement was also a cool mechanic. I never did beat this game as I ended up moving on to others, Final Fantasy Tactics and Lunar, and this is now one of those games I hope to revisit one day." Thank you, Lethko.
All right. Next is Keith from the Main Quest podcast. And Keith says, "I also got this for the Final Fantasy VIII demo. I did play Brave Fencer, but I don't really remember a thing about it. Final Fantasy VIII is really good, though. I'm doing kickflips over here." Thanks, Keith.
And next on our list, we have Lethko, who apparently went twice, who says something entirely different. "Final Fantasy VIII demo owners unite. We all got the alternate music that sounded like the theme from the movie The Rock till Square changed it in the full game. LOL. Thank you again, Lethko."
So I guess the last one, this is the last one, comes from Alt. And he says, "I haven't played Brave Fencer Musashi yet. This was meant to be one of the games I played this year, but every developer decided to throw a banger of a release in 2025. It doesn't help that I was also burned out on PlayStation 1 after finishing Legend of Dragoon earlier this year, and the Superstation 1 taking longer than expected to get in my hands. I'm hoping to get around to it, Lunar, and Grandia next year. Thank you, Alt."
Now it is our turn to say whether or not we think this game holds up today. Once again, I defer to the tradition that I entirely made up, which is myself and Shane will go first, and then our guest will have the final word about whether or not Brave Fencer Musashi has held up today. I am going to kick this one off with, I guess, there's enough detractors here with Brave Fencer Musashi that it really hampers it in the modern sense, or going back to it, I should say, because I don't play any modern games because I don't have a life. If that makes sense. I don't have enough time to play the modern games, I'm realizing, but going back to this game had a lot of good things about it. It's an incredibly charming game. It's loaded with charm, and I love the charm. And I actually think when you're going in the direction you need to go and you're accomplishing the things and you're moving through the game, like this game is a lot of fun. I had quite a bit of fun through most of my time playing it. But there are just so many things that slow it down, or like little things that constantly grate at me, like the platforming. Is it enough to make me say, like, don't play this game? No. But it is enough for me to say I wouldn't recommend running out and making this the top game for you to play, you know, in your own personal time. It's a curiosity, it's a novelty, and it holds up well enough, but just well enough. So I'm gonna say, to the question, does this game hold up today? I'm going to say yes, but because it's so charming and also barely. But it does hold up. It technically holds up, which is the best kind of holding up. Shane.
I'm gonna say yeah. It's not a very, like, I don't have a lot of conviction behind that. Yeah, probably for some of the same reasons you do. It's yes, as long as you're okay with, like, looking some things up in a walkthrough, because I sort of offhandedly mentioned it, but we didn't really get too much into it in the gameplay. But there are definitely some times where this game is really terrible at giving you a good idea of what you're actually supposed to do, or some of how some of its mechanics are supposed to work. And they even try to make some concessions with that, where, like, on the pause screen, you'll have a little thought bubble from Musashi that says, like, I should do this next. And that's generally pretty helpful, but sometimes even that's a little too vague. And there were definitely a few times in the game where I was like, okay, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing? Or what did I miss? So that can be a little cumbersome. But if you're all right with that, I think it's a worthwhile experience still. The game has a ton of personality. I would say experience it just for the writing and the dialogue alone, frankly. But I mean, I guess if you want to take that route, we've definitely recommended some games to just be like, you know what, just watch the relevant parts on YouTube and call it a day. So maybe you do that with this. I don't know, but it is a pretty short game, all things considered. So it's not like it's demanding a ton of your time. And, you know, by and large, with, you know, some of the little mechanical difficulties notwithstanding, I generally enjoyed my time playing it. So I would say yes, with the dreaded, like, short list of caveats.
All right, Lucas.
As much as I'm a huge fan, like, this game is probably one of my top 10 of all time. I can't just say, oh yeah, it holds up. Go for it. No, there are definitely caveats. One thing I'll say first is that because of the platforming, let's just say that if you're the kind of person who picks up Mario 64 today and says that the controls suck because it's old or something, you should stay away from this game, because it's a lot worse in that regard in terms of how it controls. If you think Mario 64, which in my opinion, it still holds up really well in terms of controls, the platforming here is pretty bad by comparison. And it's not the game isn't just platforming, but there is enough here that it could stress you out in that case. But outside of that, I think I'd say no one else should have any issues picking this one up and appreciating for what it is. I think in regard one thing, well, I guess there is the issue with sometimes the game really does expect you to figure out what to do by talking to the NPCs, and for that reason, I'd say if you want to play this game, try to embrace a little more of the living a simulated life in this village, in Greenland Village, a little more, because I'm no bullshit. When we played this game in '98, we did not use any guides and we cleared the whole thing. And not saying that because we had a lot of free time. It's because the game does offer that. The game does expect you to be anytime you get stuck, to talk to villagers. Someone will spell out what to do. That might sound counterintuitive if you come from newer games, because that's not the kind of thing you expect from the player anymore. I'd say that's the biggest caveat I would give, other than the platforming. If you guess the rest is if you see screenshots and it doesn't look bad to you, I think you're gonna have a good time.
All right, so there you heard it. All of us said yes, with her own various caveats. So yeah, go check out Brave Fencer Musashi. See if it's a game for you. But Lucas, thank you so much for joining us as part of this episode. It's great to have you on the show, on the main show for the first time. You've been an incredible member of our community. You host, the Game Center CX watch along every Monday at 8 Eastern time. And then when we change our time in 9 Eastern time, depending on the time of the year. But aside from that, or if you want to continue to plug that, because, hey, plug what you want to, the floor is yours. Where can people find you on the internet?
Well, you can find me on, I'm one of the hosts one of the producers for the Game Over Hell YouTube channel. It's, we do game reviews or retrospectives, or I guess Soha has done what I would consider to be essays as well. We try to keep up a weekly schedule, but we both don't make any money out of that. So we try to prioritize other things that actually make money, get in the way sometimes. For instance, we ended up not posting anything today, but we try. You're usually going to see 3 or 4 videos a month or more. I'm currently working on a pretty long video. I guess there's no issue in revealing what game it is. It's Yooka-Laylee and Replay. I'm still working on it. That should be the next one. So if you're interested, please look forward to it probably next week. And you can also find me on Blue Sky under Game Over Hell as well, where I'll post updates or whatever else comes to mind.
Once again, thank you so much, and go check out Game Over Hell over on YouTube. Make sure you find that and subscribe. And leave in the comments that you found him listening to this show. That would make me chuckle. Shane.
I guess it's our turn now.
The people.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. As far as we are concerned, we are happy that you are here. If you've made it this far, or if you, for some reason, decided to skip to this point, which is a choice.
Odd. Yeah.
Good for you. And we hope you enjoyed your time. If this happens to be the first episode that you've joined us on, then we invite you to check out the rest of the stuff we've got going on. Our huge backlog of content on our main feed, the 300-ish episodes that are out there pretty much everywhere. Or if you want to go back even further, you can go to our official site and just get that raw feed, just raw dog the podcast and go all the way back. I don't know if I recommend that, but you do you got your own life to live. And then if for some reason that you want even more content because you're so ravenous, well, fortunately for you, we also have a ton of stuff on our Patreon feed, which is exclusive for the most part, or at the very least, some of them are timed exclusives. So you can check that out. Should you wish to support the show in that fashion, you can get in on that action for as little as $1 US a month. And you can find that along with our merch store and all our other goodies, our socials that we technically still have, and our Twitch and YouTube channels. All of it is at our Linktree. So just head over to linktr.ee/retro hangover and tap the button that suits you the best. Chris, any parting words for our fine listeners before we wrap this thing up?
You like streams? You like big yellow streams of content? Then head on over to twitch.tv/retro hangover, or you can go to YouTube, maybe that's /retro hangover. I don't know. Just type in the search bar. That's on the YouTube channel. And you can find us there at Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, where we stream ourselves being mediocre at video games. Go check that out. Who knows what I'll be playing? Maybe more Rockman? Maybe something on the NES? Maybe another bad game through Steam. You never know. We never know. So go check it out. And the streams. Check out the streams.
There you go. But never cross them. That's a rule.
You can try.
I can't guarantee the results. But on that note, until the next time.
Play with the princess just kind of floats behind you oddly joysticks. I didn't have a good one. Bye, everybody.
Shane here with a quick message. You know, the one rule Chris and I have always gone by regarding advertisements is this. It has to be something we use and can personally vouch for. If you know me, you know I love coffee. And Bones Coffee Company has been my go-to for home brewing for quite some time now. Their small batch beans come in an impressive variety of flavors like Mint Invaders from Chocolate Space, or Electric Unicorn, which I swear tastes exactly like Fruity Pebbles. And the best part? No added sugar or calories involved, just natural flavors infused right into the beans themselves. Build your own sample pack of 5 4-ounce bags to find out which flavors speak to you, or jump in head first with full 12-ounce bags. They've even got K-Cups. Step up your homebrew game with Bones Coffee by visiting bit.ly/RHPBones. That's bit.ly/RHPBONES.